Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner, y'all, and this is going to be our very first look at the upcoming Season 12 DLC region, North Carolina. Now, this is actually a really surprising DLC to show up, not necessarily the Season 12 DLC itself, but this is a surprising region, at least in my opinion. Now, one of the biggest things that I am excited about with this is that it is a full-fledged 4-map region. So I know a lot of people are not necessarily the biggest fans of smaller regions or regions that feature 2 or 3 maps. So do not worry, because with Season 12, we will be getting 4 full-size maps, or at least 4 full-size maps as far as we know. Now, when you load into the testing grounds, however, things get a little bit more interesting because we get our first look at some of the new vehicles. Now, the new vehicles are, like I said before, they're very interesting because we have a new one in the off-road category. If you scroll all the way to the "it's not there." Of course, what I meant to say was we have a new vehicle in the heavy category. We're just going to forget the fact that I messed that up. Don't worry about it. We're going to scroll all the way to the end, and you'll see right here it is currently locked, but we're going to be able to go ahead and preview this truck. Now, this is not a licensed truck, although it is based on a real-world truck, and it has some really interesting features that actually should make it really, really effective. One of those features being the fact that it has a 4-unit sideboard bed, so you'll be able to haul 4 units of cargo in the on-frame sideboard bed while also being able to haul a pull-behind trailer. Now, it's not necessarily the first truck to ever do that, but it is one of the first ones to do it with such a large factory tire size, with that tire size being a 71-inch tire. Now, suspension options wise, you do only get one option, but I feel like you're probably not going to need anything else. And then in terms of gearboxes, you have special, fine-tune, and advanced special, although do be aware that since this is a kind of early development build that is being shown through the public test server, these options could potentially change later on down the road. Now, in terms of engines, currently we have the KZGT 8490, 520AT, 530T, 250R1, and 250R2. And then, of course, you can see the individual prices for those engines labeled right there. And then, of course, also their corresponding power to weight ratios. Now, again, we went through the gearboxes, we went through the suspension options, and then also in terms of tires, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 standard default options. And then if you own the tire DLC, you also get these 3 extra options. And when it comes to tire selection, I'll probably end up using these, the JAT MSH3. No idea where or how they came up with that name, but they look amazing and they definitely fit the character of the truck really, really well. So let's go ahead and jump into the winch options. We've got a stock heavy, an extended heavy, an advanced heavy, and then also a twin motor heavy. Diff lock wise, it is capable of a diff lock, but it does not come with it stock, so you will have to install one yourself. Snorkel wise, you get a couple of options in here that look, honestly, they look fairly unique to the truck at hand. And then frame add-ons wise, you get the heavy duty crane. You also get a good variety of small cranes. You get I would say a decent variety of kind of onboard equipment as well. And then of course you get this, which is the float body, which can carry 4 units of cargo, which is essentially just a really, really long sideboard bed. You get a long flatbed, large maintenance frame, long sideboard, fuel tank, fire tank, all of these different options. And then, of course, if you do want to haul trailers with this thing, you have the option of a high saddle, but not a low saddle, which is actually kind of interesting because I figured you would have the option of both. Now, in terms of visuals, you've got a couple of different visors. I don't know if they add all that much to the truck visually, but you can be the judge of that personally. Now, rooftop wise, this is interesting because you have a few different options for, so this was actually not a feature or an option I expected to see at all. And also the camera is glitching through the roof of the garage. Love it. Absolutely amazing. Perfect. Beautiful. So I would honestly probably go with either that just because it's like wacky and interesting, or to be honest, I'd probably just go with the roof fog lights because they make the most sense to me. Now, front bumper wise, we've got a heavy duty pipe bumper. We've also got a reinforced bar, and then we have the stock bumper, which is just pretty standard. And then miscellaneous option wise, you've got a round beacon, twin horns, quad horns. And then for exhausts, you have one of the largest flap cap exhausts I've ever seen on any trucks in this game, to be honest. And then you also have an outrolled exhaust and your standard exhaust, which is tiny. And of course, with the upcoming Season 12 DLC being nuclear power themed, you will also get some new nuclear themed stickers, including the All Clean, the Atom, the Dangerous Cargo, Eco Lab, Eco Patrol, High Voltage, Go Green, Wheels of Progress, Radioactive. You can read, the list goes on. Now, one other thing though, is that if you go into the interior stickers, you can get a little bit of a look around the interior of this truck. Interestingly, you can get a look at the manual shift pattern, which, can you imagine driving something of that size? I mean, obviously you're talking about something that's even, this would make say for example, your standard, this would make something like your standard 379 look honestly pretty tiny. I mean, now granted, that's still a really, really large truck, but it's not anywhere as massive as this is. So do keep that in mind when you're thinking about how this thing would actually drive and how it would translate to the real world, because it would be genuinely massive. However, I'm a little bit less excited about this next one, the MTB 8106 Rock Grinder. And it's, well, I'll let y'all decide. I'm not a fan of this thing. I mean, if you're a fan of this thing, that's great. But honestly, I don't really find myself having any interest in using this, using it, driving it. Honestly, I will probably just figure out where it is on one of the new maps, and then that'll be that. Now, your engines are, honestly, they seem decent enough. However, even with the maximum engine, you're at a B+. And a B+ is honestly really bad when it comes to something like this. So gearbox wise, you have your standard Scout fare pretty much. Suspension wise, you have oh my God, they call it a crawler suspension. Oh no, they called this a crawler suspension. Why would you do that? Why would you honestly do that? Oh no. Oh no. I mean, it's got some new tire options, but I still don't feel like they're going to save it. I really don't feel like they're going to save it at all. I mean, it's not something that I'm excited to use. I know I sound really, really kind of just down about this vehicle in general, but it's honestly I feel like the reason for that is it's just genuinely not an exciting vehicle in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm just ripping this thing to shreds for no reason. We'll have to see once it actually becomes available to drive. But again, y'all can be the judge of that. Now, at the time of recording this video, the North Carolina DLC is still currently locked for actual gameplay, although you can go to your in-game campaign mode save, career mode save, whatever you want to call it, and you can look at the kind of preload page for the DLC. Now, your regional objectives are to build the nuclear power plant, build the cooling towers, and then looks like build some kind of satellite array to connect everything up. Now, it says the actual description for the region says warm climate, rivers and lakes, green hills, lush forests and meadows. North Carolina's subtropical summers are famously mild and pleasant, although honestly, I'm not gonna lie, they're not always that mild. They're not always that mild as that description would lead you to believe. Now, I will also say, it says almost all of the factories have stalled. People are leaving their homes, relocating to larger cities, blah, 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 blah. And the environmental situation leaves much to be desired. Yet the energy companies see great potential in these lands, which is obviously where your own gameplay comes in. Now, we have 4 maps: Pipeline Bay, Reactive Zone, Flatland, and Oviro Hills. Now, it looks like there's one map especially where the only thing you'll be able to do is logging. So we'll have to wait and see how that sort of plays out. But in closing, I want to know how y'all are feeling and what y'all are thinking about this upcoming North Carolina DLC for Season 12. And if you have any thoughts or opinions at all about the region, the map count, the focus of this particular DLC, or maybe you have opinions about the vehicles, whether they be positive or negative, or just neutral, or maybe you've already moved on and you're not interested in this DLC, or maybe this DLC is super interesting to you and it brings you back to the game. Who knows? But once this DLC is available for actual gameplay, rest assured we will have all of it right here on the channel. So with that being said and done, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed this very first look at the upcoming North Carolina DLC, and I will see y'all next time.